to another weekly update. I hope you're having a really good week. I know it's just started. I hope last week was really good. Hope the weekend was good. Hope everything's going well. The weather has been really nice. It's been nice to get outside. If you don't know, one of the things I like to do outside is barbecuing. So it was really good to. I've been a bit late this time. I tend not to barbecue over the winter because barbecue people don't mention me, don't talk to me. I know. So this weekend was get everything cleaned, get everything barbecued. It was all good fun. Anyway, let's talk about what's new in Microsoft 365 development stuff. And first out, an update to some documentation, which I think will be really welcome to lots of people who have custom engine agents. So these are the bots that are built with what used to be called Bot Framework and is now called the Teams Agent SDK, I think, or the Teams AI Library. Both of those generate custom engine agents, I believe. Anyway, those custom engine agents can now show up in Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Got all that? Right, Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat. Basically you update your manifest to add a new part to it called Copilot Agents, Custom Engine Agents, the type of the bot and the ID. So this is good. This is starting to come to the kind of vision I think that Microsoft have, and the long-term vision that I think they're slowly putting the pieces together, which is that it doesn't really matter, because at the moment it's quite confusing. There's a matrix of what you can build and where it will run, and depending on where you want it to run, you have to make some choices about how you build your agents and your bots and your experiences for Copilot. I think they're trying to get to a point where it doesn't matter where you build it or how you build it, it runs everywhere. And so we're sort of gradually filling in the gaps in the matrix. And so this is one of those things. Custom engine agents now show up in Copilot Chat. So it's really good. It's in public developer preview, but yeah, it's all in there. It all works. There's a couple of gotchas. So some weird stuff. So like SSO does work, but it doesn't work in the Outlook client. So just be aware there's a couple of these weird things. But it's fine. There's a different way of doing it if you use Teams Toolkit to build your bots, but that's not necessarily this. That's what the sort of non-custom engine agents. There's different ways of doing it, but you can still do it. This is specifically for custom engine agents. That's really good to see. Glad it's there, because I think that's going to be a good one for lots of people that have probably historic bots as well, because that custom engine agent sort of infrastructure has been around for a really long time. So if you've brought your bots along from, I say a really long time, like 3 years, if you've got an application, a bot application that's 3 years old or older, something like that, it's almost certainly written in that. So it's good that you can kind of bring those forward. All right, other gaps that are being filled. You can now create personal scope apps that show up in one-to-one calls and PSTN calls. So this is cool. So previously in Microsoft, this is in Microsoft Teams. Sorry, we've jumped focus again, jump subject. Microsoft Teams apps, tabbed apps, personal apps. When you create them, you can. You've been able to create them in meetings for a while. You've had apps that tabs that open in meetings, and apps called apps now. Tabs apps, same thing. Kind of gets complicated, but they've been things that you could do in meetings, but only meetings. You haven't been able to do them in like one-to-one calls or PSTN calls. Now you can. You can specifically say that your app is supported for doing this. There's a special RSC permission you need. Blah, 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 blah. You need to have the latest version of the Teams JavaScript SDK, and there's an update to the manifest to do it as well. So that's personal scopes, context meeting side panel. Yep, so this is good. If you do that, it will then show up, and then there's a couple of other things you can do. You can pin your personal tab app. This is good, really good. Again, it's about filling those gaps in. It is kind of frustrating when something comes out, but it's only available in some of the places, not all of the places. And I understand why. I know why. I know the reasons. Software is hard, and actually something like Teams is made up of lots of different parts, kind of running together in harmony. And so it doesn't always, whilst it might make sense it feels like it makes sense from a user perspective that if one thing is in one place, it should be in all the places. That's not the reality of the code base. So sometimes we have to wait for these things to kind of come together and sort themselves out, but it's really good that we got there now. Okay, just going back to bots for a minute. If you are building bots, and then especially the kind of the custom engine agent style, the old bot framework style, if you do it with GCC, there's a important update you should be aware of. I think this is quite an important update for GCC people. Microsoft have decided to not use any of their blogs and instead put it out as a GitHub discussion. So I'm bringing it to your attention. If you're a GCC person or you know a GCC person, point them at this because I think this is quite important. I think the domain names are either changing or I'm not sure if these are new domain names because I don't follow GCC that closely. But what they're saying is it's important to pick the right one. So pick the right starting point for Traffic Manager. And then after that, they go on to say when you get the service URL back, you should then use that service URL all the time. That's always been the case. That's always been good guidance. As soon as you get the service URL back from Microsoft, that's the service URL you should use, even if it looks like it never changes and it's always the same thing and it's always in the same region because you're tenant. I think you should write your code in to always use the service URL because Microsoft might change that service URL over time. We know they're moving, for instance, to the .microsoft domain more and more. They might decide to change the service URL on us and do it that way. So, things to be aware of. Anyway, GCC, just go and check that kind of fully qualified domain you've got for the environment matches. And so what they're saying is that anything that is not that, so a non-compliant call to an incorrect endpoint is being deprecated. So presumably there might be a way today in which you can be on GCC, but maybe call the public domain and it just figures it out behind the scenes and gives you back the right service URL. Sounds like they're like clamping down on that and requiring you to start from the right place. So that might be disruptive to you. That's why I'm saying go and find your GCC friends and just make sure they're aware of this. Okay, last thing to tell you about. Let's go into the world of Copilot and AI, sort of adjacent, which is I want to talk a little bit about MCP in the remaining couple of minutes we've got. The Model Context Protocol. It's an interesting new standard for how bots can discover and stay up to date with APIs that they have access to. I think it's an interesting idea. Don't know if it's going to be the thing. It's a bit early to tell. Lots of these standards come out and some win and some lose and some get used and some don't. For now, I think it's one to keep an eye on. I think I'm going to try and do a video on it in the next couple of weeks, but it's probably going to be a couple of weeks, not next week or this week. Just kind of explaining it, just because so in some ways making the videos helps me understand it as well. So that's good. But in the meantime, I wanted to point you to a LinkedIn blog post from Ashish Bhatia, who's a product manager at Microsoft, who has given what I think is a really good 101 on MCP, including this image, which I think really helps explain it. So it's not a very long thing. It's a couple of paragraphs, but the image is good and the image is worth looking at. I'm not sure I can make it any bigger right now, right here. But go look at it for yourself, and if you do, then you can make the image bigger. It's a good way of sort of showing this is how LLMs work. This is how they work with RAG. This is how they work, with an API, and then this is how they work with MCP. So and what that means. So yeah, MCP is worth keeping an eye on because I feel like even if the answer is not MCP, it's going to be something like MCP. So it's worth knowing that idea and getting familiar with the concept of it and the general understanding of abstracting away the APIs that your LLM system, your AI system has access to. All right, enough from me. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing, and I'll speak to you next time.